Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada. All glories to our beloved speaker for today, Her Grace, Mother Sri Radha Govinda Devi. Yes. And to all Vaishnavi devotees. We thank you all as always for being here. Mother Sri Radha, please, you may take it over from here. Oh, let me see.
I'm not able to share the screen.
Hold on. Okay, yes, now you may.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Sahadev Prabhu. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. All right. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Mukhakaroti Vachalam Pangoram Gayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Mande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Jayapataka Swami Nitinamine Namacharya Padaya Nitai Kripa Pradayane Gaurakata Damadaya Nagaragrama Tarine Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Shatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. We're starting the 15th chapter. Oh, Krishna. Or should we say Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha, stop. All right. We are beginning the first verse of the 15th chapter. Maitreya is speaking here. It's a very heavy content, both in terms of physical heaviness, the pregnancy, and the heaviness on a psychological perspective. So it's a very, very heart-burdening situation and circumstance. Maitreyo vacha prajapatyam tu tattejaha parattejo hanam ditihi dhardhara varshani satam Shankamana surardhanat. Maitreya Vacha, the sage Maitreya said, Prajapatyam, of the great Prajapati, but Tattejaha, his powerful semen, Paratejaha, others' prowess, Hanam, troubling, Diti, Kashyapa's wife, Dadhara, bore, Varshani, years, Shatam, 100, Shankamana, being doubtful, Sura Ardhanat, disturbing to the demigods. Sri Maitreya said, My dear Vidura, Diti, the wife of the sage Kashyapa, could understand that the sons within her womb would be a cause of disturbance to the demigods. As such, she continuously bore the powerful semen of Kashyapa Muni, which was meant to give trouble to others for 100 years. Purport by His Divine Grace, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The great sage Sri Maitreya was explaining to Vidura the activities of the demigods, including Lord Brahma. When Diti heard from her husband that the sons she bore within her abdomen would be causes of disturbance to the demigods, she was not very happy. There are two classes of men, devotees and non-devotees. There's no gray area here. Non-devotees are called demons, and devotees are called demigods. No sane man or woman can tolerate the non-devotees giving trouble to devotees. Diti, therefore, was reluctant to give birth to her babies. She waited for 100 years so that at least she could save the demigods from the disturbance for that period. Hare Krishna. We will read the translation again. Anybody likes to be a volunteer to read the translation kindly? Thank you.
All right, I'll go. Sri Maitreya said, "My dear Vidura, Deity, the wife of the sage Kashyapa, could understand that the sons within her womb would be a cause of disturbance to the demigods. As such, she continuously bore the powerful semen of Kashyapa Muni, which was meant to give trouble to others, for 100 years.
100 years. Parattejaha, others' prowess. Okay, there are a few key words here. First of all, we need to understand who we are talking about is Diti and Kashyapa. He is a great Prajapati. So his Teja, the Teja is very, Teja, we all have Teja. We all have our aura, our energy, our vibe, whatever we think, the thoughts, the samskaras, the vasanas, what impressions we have, what desires we have is our semen. Both men and women both carry semen. It's a present in every material body. So there's a lot of parallel with the situation here happening with Diti and us. So let me start by, when I was reading this chapter, I was just like awkward. I really felt so awkward speaking about Vaikuntha, because this whole chapter 15 is talking about the spiritual world. It's about Vaikuntha. It's about mentality of a devotee. And there's a very beautiful Vaishnava song, saying by Purandaradasa. He says, I really relate so much to this more than Vaikuntha. Hagalu ninna ನೆನೆಯಲಿಲ್ಲ ಹಸಿವು ತೃಷೆಯಿಂದ ಇರುಳು ನಿನ್ನ ನೆನೆಯಲಿಲ್ಲ ನಿದ್ರೆಯ ಭರದಿಂದ ಈ ಎರಡರ ಬಾಧೆಗೆ ನಾನೊಳಗಾದೆನೋ ಪುರಂದರ ವಿಠ್ಠಲ ಸಲಹೋ ಪುರಂದರ ವಿಠ್ಠಲ. It's basically the situation. That what is my situation? My situation is, during the daytime, I'm constantly thinking of food and sense gratification. During night, I'm exhausted and I just want to go to sleep or scroll. Of course, the song, exact literal translation doesn't say scroll, but we can put it in there. And in these two extremes that I go, chasing after sense pleasure and just being exhausted and just sleeping, I'm not able to think of higher topics. I'm not able to think of the lotus feet of the Lord, which actually liberates me from this hankering. So I feel awkward talking about spiritual world, not because I don't believe in it. Okay, please don't misunderstand me on the other extreme. I very much believe in the spiritual world, in the Vaikuntha Loka, Goloka Vrindavan. But very honestly, my mind is often busy, just like this verse I quoted, with earthly concerns, bank balance, deadlines, my projects, the clients, WhatsApp messages, who replied, who didn't reply, what this client is going to do, what this person is thinking about me. So when I open Srimad Bhagavatam, Madeka Bandhu Matsangi Madguru Manmahadhana, I know that Srimad Bhagavatam is my friend. Even today, when I was trying to prepare for this class, I felt that prick. A good friend will not just say, yeah, go do whatever you're doing. It a little bit pricks and say, hey, don't cheat yourself. Be on the right track. So when I read in Srimad Bhagavatam about a world where even flowers are listening to God's names, every flower is thinking about the Lord. So a part of me is always somewhat stuck. Let me first fix my life, then I will think about the Lord. So today I am really not attempting to speak as if someone floating in Vaikuntha Loka, talking about the 15th chapter. It's all about the spiritual world. I'm actually speaking as somebody learning, really struggling, miserable, pathetic, desperate person trying to learn how to create more disturbance to others while I'm living on this earth. I mean, really, like, because some disturbances I may cause consciously, and some disturbance I cause unconsciously. So that's exactly the beginning of this verse where Maitreya, he's saying, Prajapatyam tu tat tejaha. Diti is carrying this powerful semen of Kashyapa, not ordinary energy, but Prajapatyam tejaha, creative power. And she knows very clearly what is going on inside me is going to disturb the demigods. This, my dear friends, this is not a horror story. You know what this is? This is a very familiar story, unfortunately. Because how often do we carry something inside us, inside our hearts, our minds, our souls, our consciousness, a decision, a desire, a plan, an ambition, a reaction. And somewhere inside, we already know this is going to disturb things somewhere. But you know what? We still carry it. Baro manake हे श्रीनिवासा बारो मन के हे श्रीनिवासा पापिना नेम्बेया श्रीपति निन्न नामके कोपद पापवेन् माडला पेनो यंदिगो. We're calling the Lord every day when we're chanting the holy names. My dear Krishna, please come to my heart. Please engage me in devotional service. But along with that, I'm also quietly nurturing this weed. I feel so powerless against this current of material desires. So if we look at the back story, it's a very familiar story. Wrong timing, very modern day problem. Kashyapa warned Diti in the 14th chapter, in the previous chapter. He said, this is not the right time. This is the Sandhya, the twilight. So in modern language, Sandhya, what does Sandhya mean? Sandhya is that transition time between the day and the night. It's the time where we are most vulnerable. We're tired, we're emotionally hungry, we're slightly irritated. In fact, they made a research and study that during the Sandhya time is when the mind wants this agitation. So people, when they wake up early in the morning, they look at the phone. They scroll through because they need the agitation when they wake up. So that's the sandhya between our sleep state and waking state. And then whenever people have a little break from their work hours, that's another time that people go to it. That's another sandhya time, the break in the afternoon time. And then there's another transit, which is the evening to the night. And that's another time. The statistics shows that number of people, even when I ask ChatGPT, when should I post my videos, it clearly tells me these are the times people are distracted and they're scrolling. This is when you should post your videos so people will be distracted by your video. So the point is basically the sandhya times, the transit times. It could be transit in our lives, it could be transit in our careers, it could be transit in relational difficulties, and of course transits during the day. We best it is to not make life decisions, especially getting pregnant or making someone pregnant. But still, the desire wins. So now when we take the word pregnancy, please let's not just see it as the physical sperm and the babies. And pregnancy is a heavy word. No, people in English, we use an expression, they are pregnant with ideas. No, this person is pregnant with ideas. It just means that all that energy, all that tejas, the ojas, all the accumulated power in a person, which how do you say, which concise of their thoughts, their desires, their visualizations, their emotions, their very life itself, towards what it is directed. That's the pregnancy. What are you pregnant with? So I have had my Sandhya moments where low energy get into a fight, or late night and I'm overthinking about some decision and I don't think about the japa that I need to focus on next morning. So there's a lot of priorities. And then late night, worrying about something, not waking up early, that already ruined the next day. So suddenly I'm making plans for my entire future late at night, replying to messages I should not be replying, and getting into some argument and convincing myself that one decision, one message will fix everything. What an illusion. It never does. Never. Trust me. And ಅನುರೇಣು ತೃಣದಲ್ಲಿ ಪರಿಪೂರ್ಣನಾಗಿರುವ Krishna, he's a perfect architect. Everything he's given us, including our anarthas. Yeah, yeah, oh yeah. Even our anarthas are designed specifically for us to become humble. ಗುಣವಂತನೆ ನಿನ್ನ ಮಹಿಮೆ ಗಣನೆ ಮಾಡುವರಾರು ಎಣಿಸಿ ನೋಡುವಳಿನ್ನು. So Krishna's glories are matchless because he knows how to bring me down even with that desire. Bring me down to that point of surrender. So Diti, what is happening in Diti's greatness, right? This is Diti's greatness. She's great. Who can hold a pregnancy for 100 years? What really touches me personally very deeply about Diti is when all the story happens, she realizes this is not going to be good for demigods. She doesn't say, well, what's done is done. She doesn't say, this is my truth, this is who I am, this is my nature. She doesn't say, the demigods will manage. She slows things down. Diti, the wife of Prajapati Kashyapa, she slows things down. And sometimes when life is giving me lemons, my plan don't go according to what I want, I don't want to slow things down. I point fingers, I blame at everybody around me. So she, Diti, she carries the pregnancy for 100 years. Now, we don't have to literally do that, thankfully. But the principle here is very powerful, I think. Even when I cannot possibly undo a decision, let me repeat that. Even when I cannot undo a decision, I don't have to rush its consequences. Hard lesson. Hard lesson. I don't have to act immediately. I don't have to be impulsive. Don't have to justify my actions. And I don't have to add fuel. I don't have to send that message right now. I don't have to say that person to that person, to say that message to that person. Prabhupada said this, take the one big snowball and throw it at the face of another devotee because I am right. My Prabhupada quote is better than yours. Sometimes the more spiritual act is very simply not doing the next impulsive thing. Yeah. Because here we see that because of this pregnancy, Bhagavatam is actually saying that because of this pregnancy of Diti, the sun and the moon lost their light. It's that powerful, that powerful of a consequence. And when I read this, I think, oh, yeah, exactly. With a very little limited experience that I have compared to sun and moon losing their light, we all, as an astrologer, everybody has sun and moon in our own charts, representing visions, representing clarity, representing our vitality and light to go ahead in life. Moon gives us clarity. Moon gives us peace. Moon puts us to sleep. Having good sleep is a very moon function. So I'm thinking, sun and moon together, they give good chanting ability. People who have good sun and good moon, they chant well. So my inner sun and my inner moon, they stop functioning properly when my material desire takes over. Okay, this is what this Bhagavad Gita speaks about. When I've become obsessed, ichha dvesha samuttena dvandva mohena bharata, both desire and hatred, they are the same coin, two sides of the same coin. When I become obsessed, I want this, I need this, I want this, I need this. Clarity is gone out of the window. And I hate this thing. I don't want this person. I don't want this. I hate this thing. We become obsessed about it. Clarity is gone. Peace is gone. Chanting becomes difficult. So, and chanting becomes creative. We start thinking all kinds of offenses and anarthas. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, when we are meditating, praying, Hare Krishna, thinking, oh, this person, this, I'm going to say this. We are watering the anartha. Yeah. So the Bhagavatam is very kind. Madguru man mahadana, man nishtaraka madbhagya, madananda namosate. Bhagavatam is meant to bring me peace. It's meant to bring me happiness. It's not here to just beat me up. It's not here to beat me up. It doesn't say you are bad. Because you know what? The part of me will not like, oh my God, Bhagavatam says I'm bad. No. It says, my dear child, something is off, something is not aligned. Let me help you. And here, Brahma's response is very apt. So the demigods, obviously, they're all panicking. It's like, wow, these demons are going to be born. But Brahma is not panicking here. He doesn't just call emergency buttons. Oh, emergency meeting, everybody, emergency yagya, emergency fixing the situation. No, Brahma, he starts talking about the spiritual world. He starts talking about Vaikuntha. So, which is very interesting. You'll read as you go further. In this interesting section of Srimad Bhagavatam, we can remember so many personalities. I'll just quote one by one. Baliya manege, Vamana bandante, Bhagiratane, Shri Gange bandante. So, just like Bali Maharaj, who was in the peak of his power and opulence and elegance, prosperity, abundance was just flowing to him with such great ease. He was on the path of opulence. And who came? Vamana Dev came. And when Vamana, little boy, very cute looking, came, and Bali Maharaj lost everything, but he gained everything as well. Bhagiratage, Shri Gange Bandante, Bhagirath Maharaj brought down Ganga from the spiritual world to this world. Why? Because he wanted to liberate his ancestors. And when Ganga came, he had responsibility. Boy, he had to go and convince Lord Shiva to hold that Ganga. So the point is, every act of surrender, there's a price to pay. Okay. Muchukundage Shri Mukunda Bandante. Muchukunda. Srimad Bhagavatam has a beautiful story of Muchukunda, who was a great warrior. He fought and pleased the demigods. And at one point, when the demigods asked him, "What boon, what benediction do you need?" He said, "I want to sleep." He was exhausted. But then his sleep was yoga nidra. It was not like ordinary sleep, like we sleep. He was increasing in his yogic power and ability. But he also needed liberation from that, because when somebody's performing great tapasya and they're not preaching or using the energy, the fire of this austerity keeps burning in them. And then, of course, Muchukunda, what Krishna did, he sent Kalyavan to go and kick Muchukunda, and then Muchukunda burnt Kalyavan to ashes, because Kalyavan could not be killed any other way except the potency and the power of a yogi. Then Gopiyarige Govinda Bandante. Just for gopis, when Krishna comes, they forget everything. They lose every action of the day. They forget their senses. They forget how to put on makeup. The gopis, they put on kajal to their lips and they put lipstick to their eyes when Krishna comes. So everything is kind of off alignment from a material point of view, but spiritually it is 100% aligned. Vidhurana manege Shri Krishna bandante. So when Vidura was waiting in the palaces of Duryodhan, Krishna didn't want to stay with Duryodhan or Dushasan, because Krishna was offered the palace of Dushasana. It's very gorgeous, very elegant. And Krishna said, "No, I'm not going to stay there." But then Vidura had a very small place, but Krishna decided to stay with Vidura. So imagine the awkwardness of a humble Brahmana, humble, simple Brahmana by nature, Vidura was, although Shudra by external definition. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and you know that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, comes to your house. Where are you going to make him sit down? What are you going to feed him? In fact, the wife of Vidura was so excited Krishna came that she was peeling the bananas and throwing away the banana and giving banana peels to Krishna and feeding him with banana peels. So, Vibhishanana manege Sri Rama bandante. So when Lord Ram went to Vibhishan, that was another marvelous wonder of the Supreme Lord. Similarly, the Acharya ends this shloka just like each of this devotee had the Lord come. Ninna namavu yenna naligeyali nindu bandu salaho Shri Purandara Vithala. In spite of all my sins, in spite of all my limitations, in spite of all my desperations, in spite of all my weaknesses and faults and flaws and mountains of sins and all the mistakes that I have performed and I have the ability to perform in the future. Oh, dear holy name, Nam Prabhu, may the Lord's holy names come and sit on my tongue. Just like each of these devotees had Lord visit, may that one name, one holy name, come and sit on my tongue. So it's like everything could be messy in your life, everything. And someone comes and says to you, "Come, let's sit down and talk about your values." At first, you might think, like, seriously? Now? My life is falling apart and you want to talk about values? But actually, that's what exactly we need. In that moment, that's what we needed. That's when we can call to the Lord and cry like a baby cries for the mother to be fed, to be nurtured. My Guru Maharaj says that we should call to the holy name, crying desperately like a mother calling out to the mother. A child is calling out to the mother. And if we are unable to cry to the holy name, like a desperate child crying out to the mother, we should cry that we are unable to cry. And if we are unable to cry, because I'm not feeling any emotions to cry, oof, that's an act that requires you to be desperate enough to cry for it. So Here we see that entering Vaikuntha is not so accessible, but it becomes accessible and not intimidating. Why? Because entering Vaikuntha is not like entering into any of these material situations that we have experience of, because it's a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. Brahma is describing this Vaikuntha as a place where beauty doesn't agitate, where relationships don't produce fear. Wow. Today we had a very nice meeting, and one of our Vaishnavis was sharing how if only I could figure out why I think this way, why I act this way, why I desire this way. So, in the spiritual world, and why relationships are so complicated. Well, that's the ocean of milk, my dear friend. That's Vaikuntha. That's Goloka. That's the spiritual world where the ocean is milk. There, beauty doesn't agitate you. Relationships don't produce fear. And pleasures, they don't hijack the mind. You're not affected by it. But here, ಕ್ಷೀರಸಾಗರವ ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಲವಣ ಸಾಗರದಲ್ಲಿ ಬಂದು ನೆಲೆಸುವರುಂಟೆ. But I have come here to this material world, which is a salt water ocean, literally. I was in, where was I? In Togo, right? Yeah, I was in Togo, and that was the bath that I had in the different oceans, and there also the salt water. It's salty water. Here also in Jagannath Puri, the ocean water is salty. So in case you're wondering, I'm just confirming that all the all the three sides of the world, this ocean water is salty in this material world. But Kshira Sagara, in the ocean of milk, where Mahavishnu sleeps, that one is sweet milk. And I'm thinking how, for me, a day's achievement is when I don't scroll, when I don't waste so much time and I have done all my work or something. But for Diti, it's about carrying 100 years of pregnancy to avoid disturbance. So my disturbance is fighting my own bloody mind. Oh, I'm sorry, I should not have used that word. It's fighting my own mind, okay? My own difficult mind. And so that there was a belief that in the Satya Yuga, the demons and the demigods, they were in different planets. But then in Treta Yuga, they were in the same planets, it's just different parts of the world. And then in Dwapara Yuga, they became in the same families, Kauravas and Pandavas. And you know what happens in Kali Yuga? They're inside the mind, the demons and the demigods. It's not outside. So constantly my mind is telling me it's because of this person that happened, that person. But the truth is, it's the enemy is here. The demon is, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that all these demons that Krishna killed is not just for fun entertainment video game type of series. It's actually happening inside. Each of these demons represent an anartha within our heart, which is blocking us from experiencing. Why? Because of course Durga Devi, Maya Devi, she's doing her task very well because she's the fortress. She creates a fort. So Vaikuntha, spiritual experience, the spiritual world is not being advertised as no desires allowed. That's not. It's being shown as desires are no longer running the show. See, that's the difference. So sometimes when we are in this world, we are trying to beat ourselves up too much, suppress our emotions and desires and feelings, and we think that we'll make it to Vaikuntha Loka. Even in the spiritual world, even Lakshmi Devi is there. She's a goddess of fortune, income and influx of prosperity and opulence. Is not just paper money which can disappear because of a stock market crash. This is real opulence and wealth and abundance. So nobody's insecure there. There's no possibility of insecurity. So imagine that. So why this helps me talk about spiritual world is that I don't speak about Vaikuntha or heart of Diti because I have transcended material needs. I'm speaking about this because I haven't. And it reminds me that I don't have to resolve every anxiety today. I don't have to decide everything at a Sandhya time. You know, I can wait. I can breathe. And I can let my mind settle to take shelter of Krishna in those moments of waiting, being patiently in the waiting room of Krishna without kicking and screaming and pulling my hair and complaining. Sometimes one delayed reaction is already a great spiritual victory, especially within our spiritual communities, but also individually, this applies. Taking that minute. Which part of me here wants to go rush and do that? Is it the same part that created the problem in the first place? The part that was rushing to conceive, to have a baby? Einstein said, you cannot possibly solve a problem with the same mindset that you created the problem. You cannot find a solution to the problem with the same mindset that you created the problem. So, Diti teaches us, or at least teaches me, responsibility without self hatred. Yeah. She's not like blaming, she's not falling into tamas guna in that sense. And Brahma also, I was looking at Brahma and say, okay, in our Bhaktivedanta, when we do our Bhaktivedanta studies, every section of Bhagavatam, we are asked the question, what lesson do you learn from this chapter, from these verses? What do you learn from Diti? What do you learn from Brahma? What do you learn about spiritual world? So what do we learn from Brahma? He teaches us to hold the vision without panic. Sattva guna, because Brahma is the sattvic god. Brahma is Sattva guna, Vishnu is passion, and Mahadev is ignorance, means destruction. He destroys the worlds, Mahadev. And Vishnu is the maintainer. Actually, Brahma is the passion, but Brahma is known also to be god of goodness. Vishnu is known to be god of goodness as well. But Brahma is more passion because he creates. But here we see that Brahma is holding that vision, but without panic. So passion can be good, but without panic. And the spiritual world, Vaikuntha, teaches us that desire doesn't need to disappear. We don't need to become desireless, thank God. It needs to be healed. There is no bad parts. There's no bad part of you. Every part is just trying to survive. It learned some coping mechanism. So today, our prayer can be very, very simple. What can our prayer be? Dear Lord Krishna, I may not be living in Vaikuntha consciousness all day, but please help us to practice it before my next impulsive decision. May I be aligned to your will. So if my inner sun and moon come back online and my life becomes just a little less disturbing to others, and if I can always be engaged in your service somehow or another and always be protected by the cooling shelter of the shade of devotees' mercy, so I don't cause disturbance to those devotees. So that, my dear friends, is how we can begin to enter Vaikuntha. That's the beginning consciousness to enter spiritual world. The spiritual world is not a geographical location. Oh, I'm here, a material world. Oh, next step is spiritual world. Oh, I get the visa and this border, I'm already in the country. It doesn't work like that. Consciousness is much more difficult to transcend than borders across United States or wherever. The most difficult countries in the world right now, it is to get visa, or even moon for that matter. You can go to moon planet, but going to spiritual world, good luck. So from exactly where we are at, and for me, it is being helpless, being dependent state of a child calling to the Lord every day, knowing that, wow, I'm so far from even being qualified to give a class on Srimad Bhagavatam. At the same time, my mentor, every time I say I feel so unqualified, my mentor says the only way to become qualified is to show up and speak about whatever it is, wherever you are at. Because the Lord is our best friend. Madeka Bandhu Matsangi is the only friend. And if we chant in the mood of hanging out with our best friend, you can be guaranteed you'll have a good time, and that best friend will definitely help us. So that is I would say, the way we can begin to enter, to understand this chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam with a humble heart, with an open heart, and the heart of a baby which is looking for the Lord. Not necessarily with clarity and surety and external sense of confidence, because those things don't get us a visa to the spiritual world. It may help you pass an interview with your H1, what is that, HB1 visa, but not with your not with your spiritual world. All right, so those are some of my thoughts. Any comments, any questions? Most welcome.
Well, Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mother. Of course, as always, so beautiful, lots of insights. There were many sharings you made. Even though I know a little bit about this Diti Kashyapa pastime, but I never thought of them the way you presented them, which are very applicable to my material life. Dear devotees, if anyone may have questions, comments, reflections, you may want to ask, share, please. Use the emoji or your physical hand, and you'll be asked to unmute to ask your question or share your reflections. But this is my speculation, and I want to get some clarity from you. And that is, well, of course, before I do that, I say thank you so much for the Krishna Katha shared today. But I'm wondering, Diti is saying that she knows from what Kashyapa has told her, she knows how demonic the children are going to be like. And therefore, she kept the semen for 100 years. Now, my question is, Kashyapa and Diti are getting these demons as children because of the time that Kashyapa had an affair with the Diti. But I was thinking that the soul...
Why do you say affair? They were married.
Okay, sorry. So that is, well...
That's a big scandal.
Yeah, okay. Thank you for the correction. So when Kashyapa met with...
Conceived at the wrong time, yeah.
Okay, I mean, the time it said that it was wrong. But I was thinking, and I was with the understanding that the soul is already in the semen. And if that is the case, the souls were already in the semen of Kashyapa, and then Kashyapa now delivered the souls through the semen to his wife. So why should the timing cause any difference? Except, as I was thinking, and I also speculated, except that the semen is just a vehicle for the soul to use it. And when the man deposits the semen into the woman, that is when the souls enter. I need some clarification because Kashyapa is a very great sage, and I do not see how he himself will be bearing demons and then he give them to Kunti, to Diti, to nurture them till when it's time for them to come out of the womb. If you may shed some light with this dilemma I have.
Okay, first of all, the whole context we have to rewind back. You're starting the movie from the climax. We have to go back to the beginning. The beginning is, these are not ordinary Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. We're not talking about ordinary some punks or some hippies on the street. These were Jaya and Vijaya, the closest associates of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They were guarding the door of Vaikuntha Loka. Okay, so that's we have to go back to the identity. Okay.
Okay, so I would also like to interject here. So I agree with you that these are Jai Vijay, and they were destined to appear that way. What about it in the case of any ordinary being like my crazy self here? If I also have to meet my wife at this Sandhya time we're discussing, does that mean that I may not attract bad souls? Or since it is the bad Sandhya, I'm going to attract bad souls?
No, you have to let me finish what I was saying, okay? Because there is a storyline of that episode. You have to let me finish that episode.
Okay.
So the episode of the fact of the identity of Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu being Jaya and Vijaya, it leads us to the point that the Lord knew that nobody else is capable of fighting him except Jaya and Vijaya. Who's going to fight him, right? So then when they have to appear, they have to choose somebody of an equal potency. They cannot just appear through anybody. Like you were saying, okay, by the way, our situation is always a little bit more ordinary. Okay, our lives are much more boring. So for us, if we are conceiving at the wrong time, if we cannot control our senses and we conceive wrongly, or because of our karma, we conceive a child which is crazy or whatever, the consequence of it is for the rest of the life. And in this case, when Kashyapa Muni and Diti, they are being given the warning, that's whenever there is a descriptive, and you remember, right, Kantya Prabhu often speaks about the description and the prescription. So when we are studying Srimad Bhagavatam, we need to be able to discriminate between the description and the prescription. So there is a prescription. No, wait for the right time. Don't do the mistake of conceiving at the wrong time. So there are certain lessons that we derive from it. But then we can't mix the prescription with the description of the Shastra and the story, and Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu coming as Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu coming as Kashyapa Muni's sons. So there are two different factors here. There's a historical factor and the story and the background and the backstory. And then there is the prescriptive lessons that we need to learn. What are certain injunctions or what lessons we can derive from it? So we have to kind of view this as two separate episodes, or at least two different seasons, even, actually, not just as episodes here. Yeah, does it help?
Yes.
Okay, then we can discuss. If you can say that.
The descriptive and prescriptive helps me understand where my mind frame should be, in the sense that I am not Kashyapa. My wife is not Diti. And so...
Thank God.
Thank God. But there are certain things to learn about what happened. For example, like what we just shared, how Diti, because she didn't want the demigods to suffer, she tried as much as she can to hold on to these children coming to torment them. Now, my question to you in that regard is that, and you said when you were speaking that there is no gray line or gray space. Either one is a demon or he's a devotee. No, it's either of the two. Now, some of us, we're trying to serve Shri Krishna. We are in this glorious, wonderful organization called ISKCON, built by Shri Prabhupada himself. And so we oftentimes address ourselves as devotees. But I also think that what makes me a devotee is not my external markings or by me verbalizing that I am a devotee. It depends on my actions. Now, if I am calling myself a devotee and my actions are contrary to who a devotee is supposed to be, then at that point, am I a devotee or am I a demon? Sometimes some people say, he's a devotee, but he's in a beginning stage, but he's acting demonic. So, like you said, there is no gray line. So what then am I if I call myself a devotee, but I'm acting demonic?
Yeah, I mean, Putana was a demon, but she was given a spiritual position in the spiritual world. Every demon was liberated. Even when Shishupala was killed, he emerged inside Krishna's body. So, what we have to understand is that the basis of Krishna consciousness is compassion, Jiva Doya. Mahaprabhu, especially Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You know, the Tumi Kiser Vaishnava. So, when Bhaktivinoda Thakur asks, what kind of a Vaishnava are you? Sometimes I'm a Vaishnava that there is Putana also in me, Shakatasura also in me, Arishtasura also in me. And then there is also a little bit of Yashoda Devi and little bit of the servant of the gopis. There is a mixture. And the idea is I don't try to kill the Putana in me because I can't. Only Krishna can. Only Krishna can. And remember, even that Putana, you know that she wanted to feed Krishna, and Krishna only, because Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, he will see the intention. Array, let's forget the action. She tried to poison me, but that's the action. But she wanted to feed me milk. Or the opposite. Sorry, I actually meant to say the action, the action of Putana was very nice. She wanted to feed milk to Krishna. That was the action. But her intention was to kill Krishna because she wanted to poison him. But what Krishna did, he forgave her intention and he took her action and said, let me reward her. Whereas we just spoke in the class about Vidurani, the Vidura's wife, her intention was very pure. She wanted to please Krishna. And then she was giving him banana peels instead of bananas. And Krishna said, forgive the action, I'll take the intention. So, if you're asking me a question of how to determine if somebody is a devotee or a demon, you have to think like Krishna. Only then you or me or any other sannyasi or GBC or temple president or the new bhakta or the book distribution recipient, whoever wants to pinpoint and point the fingers and say, this is a demon, this is a devotee. In order to do that without any mistake, you need to understand how Krishna thinks. And because once you understand that, you know that there's not much difference ultimately. Because one of our teachers in the Shastra class was saying, to be Putana, you really have to be a good villain, like completely dedicated. To be Kamsa, you have to be super obsessed about Krishna. Those are not easy roles. Better you try for the devotee path because the demon path is even more harder. Because when we talk about demons in Krishna Leela, each and one of them have a backstory. And in that backstory, we see their greatness. And we see how they came to a position of being kicked or pulled or sucked their life out, air out by Krishna. Each of that, they had done tapasya for how much time and with such intensity. So the point is sometimes we belittle demons and look down upon them. But if we're talking about the demons that we talk about in Krishna Leela, their intensity and absorption of thinking about Krishna is par excellence. So we have no chance there. We got no chance of competing with the demons in that level of who can be touched by Krishna, who can be kicked by Krishna. So our path is even more difficult than the demons. If we are thinking in any corner of any mind, limited mindset I have, and I'm thinking, this is a demoniac behavior. Yes, it's a demoniac behavior, but to really be called a demon, you got to be very qualified because Krishna is going to liberate you very quickly the more demoniac you are. So the conclusion is faith, the concept of faith. To answer your original question, how can all this come about? Look, it's not the fault of Kashyapa. Please, this is kind of off record. It's on YouTube, but don't quote me. So, it's not the fault of Kashyapa. It's not the fault of Diti. It's not anybody's fault. It's not fault of Jaya. It's not fault of Vijaya. It's not the Kumaras who cursed. It's none of their fault. It's the the blue boy who likes to steal butter, and he leaves the spiritual world and comes down to Gokula so he can go and steal butter in the houses of the gopis, so he can churn their hearts and take that butter and eat it. So the point is Krishna's intentions of why he creates certain situations, to create certain pastimes, and to create chaos in the world. It's all him, because nobody else is Satya 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 Ramana Satya Sankalpane Satya Nitya Toro Tande Purandara Vithalane. Krishna in Srimad Bhagavatam said he's a Satya Sankalpa. Whatever he thinks, he makes it happen. He desires, oh, I'd like a good fight. Oh, he creates the whole story. And that's why, and that's why Krishna, he being the Lord and the master of the ocean of milk, comes here to steal butter for that same reason. And so it's nobody else's fault.
Yes, Hare Krishna, Mother. I'm sorry to bug you on this. I agree with you that it is not Kashyapa's fault, it's not Diti's fault, it's not Jaya Vijaya's fault. These are all crafted play that the Supreme Lord did. But I am looking at it as oftentimes the Supreme Lord enacts pastimes with his pure devotees for the benefit of the conditioned souls, of which I am one, to learn from. So with the pastimes of the Lord and his devotees, Jai Vijay, in different incarnations, fighting them, what do I, as a conditioned soul, learn from these activities, particularly, like you were rightly saying, that we do not blame this demon on that or that demon. Before I became Hare Krishna devotee, I was a Christian. I used to read the Bible, study the Bible in my own little way. And in the Christian Bible, Lord Jesus Christ taught that one should hate sin, but not the sinner. So in the same way, Hiranyakashipu, I do not have to hate them, but their demonic activities, I'm supposed to hate them. So my question back to you then is that, as preaching devotees, at what point do we say that this activity is demonic without trying to kill the demon, trying to kill the person who was acting inimically or whimsically. But what do we learn, or what do we do with the demonic activities? That is what I want to get from you, because I am in this material world and I am learning from the scriptures what is divine activities and demonic activities. And if someone is doing activities that are deemed demonic according to the scriptures, what do I do?
I mean, you remind me of the section of Srimad Bhagavatam when Indra he steals the horses of Prithu Maharaj again and again and again, and he's the king of the devas, but then his behavior is not very demigodish. Right? He's behaving quite demoniac in the sense, very ruthless, and he comes again and again and again and steals. So you remind me of this as an example that justice and mercy. When do we apply justice and when do we apply mercy? Well, Mahatma Prabhu often says, right? Usually we want mercy for our mistakes. When we make a mistake, we want others to forgive us. We want mercy. But then if somebody else makes the mistake, we want justice. So this is a very important Vaishnava value system to understand. Bhakti Vinod Thakur says, para dukkha sukhi and para sukha dukkhi. So when I see someone else being happy, I become sad. And then when I see somebody sad, I feel happy. So this requires introspection. To truly do this in an honest, sincere, authentic way, only Krishna and I know what's happening truly in my motivation, in my heart. And I mean, there are many times that I did think like, why did Prithu Maharaj tolerate so much? It's like too much of a perfect character, right? And then when Krishna arrives and the whole situation is there, this guy Indra did all kinds of hanky-panky things and stealing the horse and all kinds of not very nice things. And if something like that happened around me, and I was an ISKCON leader, and one of our leaders did something like that, let's say I'm one of the GBC, and one of the temple president tried to do this. And then this temple president and the person that he did to, Prithu Maharaj and Indra, they were both contesting to become the next temple president. I obviously would tell Mr. Indra Prabhu, your behavior has been less than ideal. This is not very devotee-like. Sorry, try next lifetime to become temple president. But you know what Krishna did, right? Krishna is not, I am not Krishna and Krishna is not me, fortunately. Krishna actually went to Prithu Maharaj and said, stop, don't do the 100th sacrifice. And I was, when I first time read it, second time I read it, the third time I read it, I keep scratching my head. How is this justice? Why this mercy for Indra? Why this mercy for Indra? So because basically Krishna gave Indra the victory flag. He said, okay, go, you win. And he told Prithu, don't do the 100th one. So it's the Lord's leelas and decisions are inconceivable. Okay, so let me conclude this answer in as short format as possible because you opened the whole new Bhagavatam class topic here, right? Justice and mercy. I'm thinking of so many examples in the 9th canto. Again, justice, mercy, Vasishta and Shukracharya and the curse and the counter curse and all that. We can go on. But in essence, Krishna's mind is understood only by Radharani. We cannot understand. That's a given. But there are two aspects of Krishna consciousness in this kind of topics. One is the rasa aspect, which means the mellows, the mood, the feelings, and the leelas, and the pastimes, and then all that. And then there is the tattva aspect, the philosophy, the theology, the strict values of life as human being. So sometimes for a dull snamanda sumanda matayo manda bhagya hi upadrita, for me who may for me who, which may be in Kali Yuga mind, it's a struggle for me to stop scrolling. It's a struggle for me to chant 16 rounds, which is the minimum of any acharya in the Vaishnava Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya has given, being a challenge to reconcile the tattva and the rasa aspects is far beyond comprehension. It may not be easy for me to comprehend these two extremities. So, what I can do in these situations is with a straw in the mouth, we humbly go to our spiritual master, to our Srila Prabhupada, to Krishna, to our beloved deities, and we say, my dear Lord, I have no idea what is in your mind. I have no idea. But Aslishya va padaratam pinastuma madarshunam. But I have no other power. And you squeeze me or you leave me hanging there, I'm yours. You kick me, I'll come back to you only. I have nowhere else to go. You're my Lord. You're my master. I joined ISKCON thinking that everything is going to be perfect here. But it's not. People have problems here. People have severe problems. Sometimes I feel they have more problems than the world outside, which may not be true, but sometimes I feel like that. But my dear Krishna, my lens with which I'm seeing is also contaminated. Please, I know this material world is no shelter, but help me with good sangha, with good association, with good absorption, so I can use my power to get pregnant with the right ideas, to get pregnant, to let me fight for the right things. If I'm creating something, because pregnancy is required to create anything, let me get pregnant with bhakti. Let me get pregnant with Krishna conscious ideas. Let me preach Krishna consciousness. Let me not repeat the same mistakes that I'm annoyed by. So, all we can do is understand that I may not be able to reconcile this in one lifetime, in one day, in 1 year, in one term as temple president or whatever it is that we may do. And I think that's the essence again on the rasa perspective. But then on the tattva, you need to take decisions. You have to cut the wrong people, you have to do, but both have to exist. At the same time, both are separate. So it's achintya beda abheda tattva. It's simultaneously one and different. So this thing always helps me when I'm totally confused about why this happened, what is this, because there is a tattva, there's philosophy, the theology part, and there is the rasa, the mellow, and why he did the feelings and his relationships and the leela and the desire of the Lord. That's a separate thing. There's two different things, but it's parallel. It goes hand in hand. Because the Lord never does anything meaninglessly or haphazardly or randomly.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting, topic of discussion. We'll be having a course. It's called How to Rewire Your Karmic Patterns. So in that we will discuss more on these topics of how to rewire, how to get pregnant with the right, right babies.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I truly appreciate the answers to my questions so much, because by Sri Guru Krishna's grace, you answered, and you answered in a manner that it's helpful to me. I hope it's helpful to others also. So we understand how to live, and more especially relate with devotees and people in general. Hate sin, but not the sinner. Anyone else with something to ask? His Holiness Kavichandra Swami Maharaj is in the building. Hare
Hare
Krishna Maharaj.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I just saw him here.
I like how you say he's in the building.
Yes, is in the house.
Yeah.
Hamsadutta Prabhu, you have something to ask, please? You may unmute. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Yamada. Please can you accept my respectful obeisances?
Very well.
All glory to Jagaguru Srila Prabhupada, and all glory to the wonderful Assembled devotees. Thank you for the wonderful class. Always, I love listening to your class, and every day you left it with something. And today, you left it with something how to pray when we are going through difficult times, when we are confused. And I just want to thank you for that. Because sometimes we see a lot of problems and we're beginning to ask ourselves, what is going on? This is here, this is what is going on. But we find it very, very difficult to how to pray or how to deal with those situations. And answering His Grace Adi Prabhu question, you left me, especially me, with something how to pray to Krishna of some difficult situations. So I just want to thank you for that. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hamsadutta Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Thank you, Hamsadutta Prabhu. I was also equally moved with that prayer. Thank God it's recorded, so we can go back, revisit, and try to learn. Srila Prabhupada has advised that as struggling devotees, we do not have to make our own prayers. We can go through the Vaishnava Acharya's prayers and select favorable, applicable prayers and try to pray as such. Because if I have to pray on my own, oh my God, Lord Krishna will be my order supplier, which is not very good. So
I think there's a movie, there's a Hollywood movie. I forget the name, but there's a movie where the guy somehow becomes God for some time. Means he gets power to do anything and he creates a chaos trying to become God. And then at one point he starts hearing all the prayers and the emails and everything starts coming. He's just like, oh my God, it's impossible. How does he do it? And then he presses grant everyone's prayer because he didn't want to check each one. So he said, grant everything. And then the next day he sees that the world is in super chaos because he granted all the prayers. And many of these prayers were wrong and off and contradicting each other and creating many big problems in the world. And then, he finally goes back to the other God. And, some movie like that is there actually. So don't play God. That's the lesson.
That would be a nice movie to watch. Only Krishna is Krishna.
The movie is called Bruce the Almighty.
Oh, Bruce the Almighty. Okay.
I'll
check it out. Yeah. Well, thank you. Anyone else with something to ask or to share? Maharaj, please, do you have something to say, Maharaj? Let me see.
Yeah, yes, His Grace. I think this movie, it's made. It's Tim Curry and Morgan Freeman.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So you can,
He's God. He's God in that something like
Morgan
that.
Freeman. It's a very old movie, but it's really nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Srimad Acharya, please, you may unmute.
Actually, there are two versions of that film. There is the Indian one, acted by Samir Khan. And
I didn't know. Okay, I didn't know that one. Yeah, I only know the Hollywood one with Morgan Freeman.
Okay. Samir Khan acted as the actor in that film.
Okay. Srimad, yes, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Please accept my obeisances. All glory to Prabhupada. Thank you very much, Mataji. Nice listening to you. you said something that actually got me wriggling with laughter and making me think a lot. You said when devotees get into arguments, trying to be right, and somebody says my Prabhupada's quote is better than your Prabhupada's quote.
Yeah.
and, and like people come up with the Prabhupada statement. See, this is what Prabhupada said. Yeah, this happens a lot, and it makes me. I keep thinking, how do we control that? When that happens, what do you do? Because we are coming from the Christian background, where the Christians are very expert at doing this. One part of the Bible says this, and another part says that, and then everyone says, "Yeah, right." Bible says this, yeah, that one also say. And now in ISKCON, we're also getting into that now. It's very, very, very sad to see that. So how do we control this?
Thank you
Now,
so much. Yeah.
now, if I want to, just to complete it, I mean, we cannot act like Krishna. Like Krishna knows when to deal out justice and mercy. We cannot, like you rightly said, Krishna in the case of Prithu Maharaj and Indra, we just can't act like that. And then we are bound to always want to see, is this okay? Is this just? Is there justice here or not? Our mind is constantly battling with this. So how do we control this?
Thank you. This is a very real thing, snowball fight of Prabhupada quotes. And sometimes these snowball fights, when, imagine 25 people throwing big, big snowballs at one person, the person could die. So these fights that happen, they happen mainly because of not following the Vedic principles. So basically, Vedanta Sutra, we have to go back to Vedanta Sutra. So Vedanta Sutra has principles. So we'll touch upon these 3 principles. First is Atato Brahma Jigyasa. Who am I? Vedas give you explanation. You understand who's God, who are you. Second, how do you understand who's God? Shastra Yonitvat. The second principle of Vedanta Sutra is through Shastra. But the third principle, without the third principle, how to understand Shastra? How? Because, Shastra says so many things. Prabhupada says this also, Prabhupada said that also. So then the third principle, very important, Vedanta Sutra, is Tattu Samanvayat. Tattu Samanvayat means to be able to reconcile apparently contradictory statements of Shastra. So in order for any person with a brain or half a brain to be able to come to a conclusion, we need to understand the principle, the third principle especially of the Vedanta Sutra. Means if Prabhupada said, which I'm giving real quotes here, in New Vrindavan, Srila Prabhupada said, women must churn butter, take care of the cows, sew the clothes, take care of the babies, okay, make sweets, churn butter. And somebody may take that, it's a Shastra quote by Srila Prabhupada, is our Acharya, and go about it. The snowball of Prabhupada said women should churn butter. That's what Prabhupada said. But the same Srila Prabhupada, few months later in New York, he was telling his female disciples, go and talk with the scholars. And he even called one of the disciples and said, say something in Sanskrit. And she said, I don't know Sanskrit, Srila Prabhupada. He said, say Samsara Dava. And she started saying, Samsara Dava, Nalalida Loka, Tranaya Karunya, Gana Ganatam. And that professor was like stunned. Your foreign disciple speaks Sanskrit. That's amazing. That's a miracle. And then, so Prabhupada said that our devotees must be prepared to argue with the professors. So the point is, another person may take the snowball. Prabhupada said that even women should be very shastrically trained and go and argue with the scholars. Now, which Prabhupada is right? Which snowball is going to get you? So that's the Tattu samanvayat. We need to see the time, place, circumstance, how do we apply which principle, but we can't do that with the mindset that we create the problem. If we, with the mediocre thinking, with our cultural baggage, every country has its baggage. Indian people, you think they don't have conditioning? They have plenty of conditioning, all kinds of rituals and what nonsense superstitions. Same thing with Africa. I mean, I've been there, I've lived in Africa. I know people can be very superstitious, right? So you think Americans don't have conditionings? Oh, plenty. Maharaj can tell us how much conditionings the American people have. So the point is, both, like Prabhupada said, East and the West. East is like the lame man, and the West is like the blind man. So if the two have to work together, then the lame man will sit on the shoulders of the blind man and lead the way. But instead, if we start becoming, no, my Prabhupada quote is better than yours. My Prabhupada quote is in the book and yours is in the conversation, so yours is lower than mine. It becomes like this story. It's a real story that happened. There was a guru. I'll shorten the story, okay? There was this guru, and he was very tired and he had some problems in his leg. He went to sleep, and these two disciples sitting on two sides were massaging his feet. And at one point, the stupid, idiotic, immature disciples who didn't know nor Shastrayonitvat, nor Tattu Samanvayat, none of the Vedanta principles, or they knew it by heart, but they didn't know what it meant. They were sitting there fighting by insulting the leg of the guru who was on the other side of the disciple. Your leg rots. I'm going to beat your leg. I'm going to cut your leg, the other disciple is saying. So they both start fighting over which feet sucks, which feet is good feet. And then at one point they take hammer and axes to hurt the feet of the guru, and the guru wakes up and says, what the nonsense? What are you guys doing? No, what is this? And then he says, this is not your leg. This is mine, not yours, not yours. So sometimes we're hurting Srila Prabhupada's movement because of our own stubbornness, our own passion, our own conditioning and baggage of cultural things. And then when we come together as a movement, of course, we will have differences. But if we could understand that, okay, maybe I have some conditioning. Maybe I'm viewing this from a lens then they're not. And maybe they are viewing it from a lens that I'm not. But if we don't have that as a, see, these are questions for leaders. How to have unity in diversity. Because we cannot just have unity in a blind way. And we cannot just allow diversity wildly. So it needs to have unity in diversity through the principles of the scriptures. So we need maturity. You know, there is a Christian book. I highly recommend this book. It's called Emotionally Mature Spirituality. Let me see if that's exactly what it's called. Emotionally, it's a book written by a priest. He says really vulnerable things about how you cannot be a good priest. Yeah, the book is called Emotionally Healthy Spirituality. Let me see. Can't see it. Sorry. Emotionally Healthy Spirituality. It's a book written by Peter Scazzero. It was a very good book. I gave some presentations on this to some leaders of ISKCON. The book is all about it's impossible to be spiritually mature while remaining emotionally immature. So I would say majority of the problem of throwing this snowball quote, Prabhupada said this, Prabhupada said that, and our own understanding, and we limiting Prabhupada to our own conditioning and baggage is because of emotional immaturity. Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj also spoke about this very clearly. He was very bold when he would speak with the leaders and just call them spade a spade. You are all still stuck in this emotionally immature place. How can you expect fixing the world? Fix your own, I don't want to use the word again, but your own life, your own mind, your own hearts first. So I would say the emotional maturity on an individual level, on our own grihastha ashrams, our own homes, our hearts, our temples, our relationships with people, and then as a community, and then as a country, and then so we got a lot of work, a lot of service to do. And so the emotional care is something that's needed. Otherwise, people can become very fanatic. People can go about with the axe in the head and hammer in the hand, and Prabhupada said this is how it's supposed to be, this is written here. And then, and then what? We end up in hell, maybe. Because Prabhupada also said that if you don't cooperate, it's going to harm his body. ISKCON is Prabhupada's body. Yeah, I think this requires like-minded individuals to come together and pray and beg the Lord to help us. Because in India, we see so many divisions already, so many places. The place I come from and I joined Krishna consciousness, we have like so many splits. So many splits. Maya Devi loves it because we become weaker and weaker. She says, this is good. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Mother, for Shivara Prabhu's question. Sometimes I think and I begin to ask myself, who is learning from who? The karmis learning from devotees or devotees learning from the karmis? Because I see especially during political election times, different people will quote different politicians, and they will not quote everything they said. They only quote a portion of what they said.
Yes.
And says, oh, this is what he said. And we devotees, we also do the same thing. I mean,
Yeah.
I can do whatever and find a quotation to support what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So this is the problem. This is the problem that I remember some time ago, there was a situation going on, and I'm saying this because His Holiness Kavichandra Swami Maharaj himself is here. Somebody had said that His Holiness Kavichandra Maharaj said this. So I asked Maharaj, and Maharaj said, I did not say that. And, and he said, during Srila Prabhupada's time, he also faced the same thing. Everybody was saying Srila Prabhupada said this, Srila Prabhupada said that. So Srila Prabhupada said that if anyone says to you that Srila Prabhupada said this, come find out from me.
Yeah.
So Maharaj told me the same thing. So you're very right that we always like to hide behind an authority and say or do what we want to say or do. So thank you so much. And
once there was a wife, she kept on nagging and complaining about her husband. My husband doesn't do this, and he's like this, and he spends so much time in the temple, he doesn't do this, and na 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 na. But and then asked few questions. Does he provide for your family? Does he have a dinner with you? Some basic questions. And she said, yeah. But but this and but that. I said, it's okay, just leave him alone. Let him do what he likes to do, And she went and told her guru, she told me to leave my husband and divorce him. And it became a huge thing. And that guru was like, you told her to leave her husband? I said, no. I just said, leave him alone means like give him a break, let him do what he likes to do. He's a good husband. But oh my God. So, people can take things out of context.
Yeah. I see that so much, like I said, during election time. These politicians, they are so expert. Well, thank you so much. Like Sadhutta Prabhu said, each and every single time you spoke with us, we learned something very, very deeply, which is very, very applicable to our devotional life. So we thank you so much, and we're grateful that we could have the association at least once in a month. So as your beloved husband, it's interesting, you said something today that His Grace Kantia Prabhu also said. He said about Paraduka Duki, and then Parasuka something. I don't remember exactly how.
Parasukha Dukhi, Paradukha Sukhi.
Yeah, Sukha Duki, Dukkha Sukhi. Yes, he said the same thing. So thank you so much. Dear devotees, we're going to humbly request you all to kindly unmute yourselves, and we all with one heart, one love, chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra to express our deepest appreciation and gratitude to our revered speaker, Her Grace Shri Radha Govinda Devi, for sharing her love and wisdom with us all today. Jai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Janam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to Her Grace Shri Radha Govinda Devi Ki Jai. Glories to His Holiness Kavichandra Swami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jagat Guru Param Guru Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. All glories to Samudra Vaishnava Devotees Ki Jai. Hare Krishna.